Holly barrier, a plant widely recognised particularly around this time of year. Used throughout the holiday season, holly's beautiful green and red appearance may be visually satisfying, but don't let that fool you. As well as having extremely sharp and hardy leaves, its berries are harmful to animals, humans, and apparently zombies as well. In Plants vs Zombies 2, Holly Barrier is a master of utility, having many hidden talents in its arsenal, both offensive and defensive, individually and working in synergy with other plants. At first glance, Holly Barrier appears to work like a combination of Endurian and Banana Launcher smushed together, but it's actually quite different in the way it works. When a zombie tries to eat Holly Barrier, it will start to take damage over time whilst trying to munch through 3000 toughness, which is the same amount as Endurian. Holly Barrier can also be fired manually like Mistletoe by tapping and dragging the crosshair to the desired location. Holly Barrier fires one of its 3 berries at the target, doing a measly 20 damage, but it has several other effects that come with it. All berries fired at the zombies have a 3x3 area knockback effect, booping them back the space of 1 tile. If a berry barrier is fired at an empty tile, it gets jammed into the ground, acting like a mini Endurian with only 1500 health points. These berry barriers also have the height of a tall nut, so they can block flying zombies, but interestingly, the Holly Barrier plant itself doesn't possess this ability. It's also important to note that unlike Banana Launcher's projectile, Holly Barrier's berries will not replenish after use. Once they're gone, they're gone. There are several ways to replenish them, however. The main ones being replanting another Holly Barrier on top of the ammo-less plant, like with Charguard, or using the plant food ability. Speaking of which, when plant food is used, Holly Barrier fires 4 zooped up berry barriers randomly onto the lawn. These still work like the regular berries, but have an upgraded appearance, double the toughness, and double the melee damage. You can also heal plant food berry barriers by firing a regular berry onto it, which is pretty awesome. Where Holly Barrier really shines though is synergy. When used in conjunction with other plants, it can really take it to the next level and provide some very powerful and unique strategies. As I just mentioned, there are a few ways to replenish lost Holly Barrier berries. One of the more interesting ones is with Aloe. Whilst Aloe can heal damaged plants, when Holly Barrier or Charguard's HP drops below 50%, Aloe will restore all ammunition. Intensive Carrot also has a similar effect on Holly Barrier. Carrot has received a fair amount of criticism, particularly recently, but this is one of the few positive things it's got going for it. Even if a Holly Barrier dies without any berries remaining, Intensive Carrot will restore them all. The berry barriers are also classed as plants, meaning they too can be revived by Intensive Carrot. This includes the regular ones and the plant food ones. Not exactly sure how useful this is, as you can just fire another berry to replace the eaten one, but it's still pretty cool. Some of the more offensive strategies can be extremely devastating though. The first one that springs to mind is with Blover, and this can make light work of large groups of zombies. Because Holly Barrier's berry missiles have a 3x3 knockback effect, the zombies get a brief moment of airtime as they are flung backwards. The timing of this can be a little tricky, but if you aim and fire a berry at a group of zombies, pause for a fraction of a second, and then quickly place down Blover, you can send masses of zombies, weak or powerful, flying into next week. If I'm honest, this strategy is overpowered. It kind of gets ridiculous, especially if you add in additional plants like sweet potato or hot date into this synergy. You can have a whale of a time. The most OP Holly Barrier strategy synergy is with Reinforcement though, who not only knocks back all zombies on screen, so this can be used with the above strategy, but it also forces all Holly Barriers to use their plant food ability. If you have enough of them, they can basically kill pretty much any zombie. This also of course replenishes the ammo stock as well. Another somewhat useful synergy is with Escape Route. As we know, the berry barriers are classed as plants. Escape Route will work on them. This can be useful if you accidentally fire a berry on the wrong tile or are waiting for Holly Barrier to recharge and you need to get something in the way. Before we get on to weaknesses, the final plant synergy is just with other wall plants in general. These can work very effectively with Holly Barrier, creating a very difficult line of defense for the zombies to break. Now, I'm going to be honest, as with a couple of other plants I've covered, there's not really a lot lot that Holly Barrier can't deal with, even in the likes of Big Wave Beach. The berry barriers can't be placed on the water tiles, obviously, but the missile damage and knockback will still work. Berry barriers will work on top of lily pads also. On the zombie front, we have some of the usual culprits like Troglobite. I'm not sure if any plant is immune to being crushed by ice, but whilst we're here, frostbite caves in general can be a bit of a nightmare for Holly Barrier. Unless you are well heated, you'll find berries will get frozen all over the place and it can get chaotic trying to keep them all toasty. Breakdancer zombies and raptors can kick zombies past berry barriers, and torch zombies can also pose a bit of a problem for Holly Barrier. The knockback will still work on these guys, but they will just immediately burn through the barriers. This can be easily remedied by having an ice plant on your team, however. Holly Barrier also isn't the best for levels that require you to have no more than X number of plants on the lawn at one time, or require you not to lose more than X number of plants. As we found out earlier, the berry barriers are classed as individual plants, so they will push you over or under limits. The other downside, I guess, is I think like Gumnut, this plant is rather overpowered. I mean, it's not a bad thing for the player, other than at times it feels like you're cheating, especially in the adventure mode levels. Holly Barrier is a beast. The final one really, I suppose, like with Banana Launcher, Holly Barrier does need to be fired manually and requires a bit of micromanagement. While I think you can get used to this plant quickly, it can be difficult to use properly. A lot of on-the-go decision making is required, and as I've explained, some synergies involve specific timings. Holly Barrier is both a very powerful stalling plant and incredibly devastating when paired with other complementary teammates. It's a plant that can be used effectively against all types of zombies, weak or strong, allowing you to push back hordes with ease and gives you the ability to create defense wherever it is needed the most. Holly Barrier's synergies further improve the plant's already hugely effective crowd control abilities, enabling you to eliminate zombies that would typically cause problems effortlessly. Particularly the strategy involving Blover tips Holly Barrier into the overpowered category for me. Whilst I think it makes the plant really fun to use and at times I felt like an unstoppable force, in my opinion it needs some balance tweaks. If you haven't really used Holly Barrier in the past like me, hopefully this analysis has given you an insight into why this plant should not be overlooked. Anyway guys, that's about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of Holly Barrier in the comments below. But other than that, remember to hit those like and subscribe buttons, turn on notifications, and if you'd like to support the channel further, check out my Patreon page by clicking on screen or through the link in the description. Okay, thanks guys, bye.